Hey co-stars, welcome to Generation Films. My name is British Ben. You know, the Me Too movement swept through Hollywood and now it's sweeping through politics. And it made me think of all those people who you thought were really upstanding, but actually when you really analyze their behavior, you find them to be just creepy and inappropriate. Commander Riker has always been one of my favorite Star Trek characters, but when you really analyze his behavior, it does make you think again. Now the show was made in the 80s, a decade of excess, but still, throughout the show, he manages to endanger the Enterprise by sleeping with an enemy agent. He falls in love with a transgender alien, makes out with androids, holograms. Nothing is out of bounds for him. He even molesters a 16-year-old girl. Okay, he was under mind control for that one, so I'll give him a pass. But these things really are just the tip of the iceberg. So this is all of Commander Riker's sexual misconduct in one video. And he starts with a bang. So when the Enterprise visits Angel 1, a female-dominated society ruled by 6 mistresses, it already sounds dirty, doesn't it? Mistresses. Riker just gets right to business and goes ahead and sleeps with the leader of the planet. I mean, in the real world, in conducting diplomatic relations with a female-led nation, Germany for example, would the first officer of a US aircraft carrier just go ahead and sleep with Angela Merkel? Okay, I know there might be a slight difference in desirability, but I think if you really did that, you would face a court-martial. Okay, let's check out the second of Riker's offenses. So in the episode 101, I'll put it on screen. It's a weird name, but it makes sense in the show. Riker creates for himself on the holodeck a jazz bar girl called Minuet.
Blondes and jazz seldom go together. But more sultry.
So the computer understands the word sultry. I had to look it up, but it means attractive in a way that suggests a passionate nature. Is that just a nice way of saying slutty? You be the judge. Anyway, Riker takes full advantage of this very realistic program's sultry nature. Then Picard walks in on them and he's just like, ho ho ho, great holodeck program number 1. And he seems to want to get in on the action too. Minuet then starts chatting him up in French like she's looking for a sugar daddy or something.
Enchanté, comme c'est merveilleux de vous voir ici.
Incroyable.
And Riker starts getting a bit jealous. But you know, this is tame compared to 7 of 9 in Voyager, who creates a holographic version of Chakotay and just full on hooks up with him on the holodeck, even though the real Chakotay is walking around on the ship. Chakotay even calls her over the comms system while she's in bed with the holographic version of him on the holodeck.
Chakotay to 7. Respond.
Go ahead.
Report to Astrometrics. We found something.
Yes, Commander.
Alright, back to Riker, and I guess the holodeck escapade with Minuet is really just a bit of harmless fun, a bit like our next episode. So, the Enterprise rescues a load of Space Irish, descendants of 22nd century humans who colonized some planet somewhere. Look, this is them beaming aboard the ship. Not sure why O'Brien looks so worried. These are your people, mate. Anyway, Riker goes and chats up this woman called Brenna.
Tell me, Commander Riker, where does a girl go to wash her feet on this ship?
As the first officer, I feel it's my responsibility to show you all the amenities.
Yep, if you're the first officer, you get dibs on all the cute girls. Don't ask questions, guys, that's just how it is. Riker, of course, leads her to his dimly lit quarters, where she reveals that washing her feet is code for something else, and Riker, being the professional Starfleet officer that he is, says it's totally fine and he hooks up with her. The funny thing is, at the end of this episode, they reach the conclusion that to save their society, the Space Irish and this other group of clones from the same planet need to start reproducing offspring to enlarge their gene pool.
So it would be best if each woman, bring Lloydie and Mara Posen, had at least 3 children by 3 different men.
I think I could handle that, yes.
Just look at the expression on that guy's face when he realizes what he has to do. Except for Brenna. She'll need 1 less impregnation. Now Riker has done his thing. Alright, On for the next one. So this woman called Yuta comes aboard. She's pretty attractive and a servant to some alien sovereign. Riker, of course, has her dine with him in 10 Forward. Remember, it's the first officer who gets dibs on all the cute girls, and he starts with the compliments.
Yuta, you're an excellent chef. But you speak in riddles.
I've never been very good at conversation.
That look, Riker, I know what you're thinking. And oh, yep, that's right, very quick. That's exactly what I was thinking too. But unfortunately for Riker and Yuta, Yuta is an alien servant who cannot feel emotion. Riker doesn't feel comfortable with it and puts her in the friend zone, and then they get interrupted by Red Alert anyway. So yeah, not one of Riker's most successful hookups. Next, we have Data's daughter, who, like Data, is an android. She gets herself a job working the bar in 10 Forward, and like all androids, she's curious about human intimacy. Riker's sleazy introduction gives her the wrong idea.
You're new around here, aren't you?
Yes.
So yeah, it wasn't really Riker moving in for the kiss, but if she hadn't done that, Riker probably would have tried to chat her up anyway, maybe even tried the tour of my dimly lit quarters trick that works so well with Brenna. Then Data gets all protective father-like over his daughter.
What are your intentions toward my daughter?
Your daughter?
Riker realizes she's an android and walks out. Is that how you treat him, Riker? Just love him and leave him? Or maybe he learned from the mistakes of people in the 21st century. Anyway, moving on. There's an episode called First Contact in Season 4 of The Next Generation. Don't confuse that with the movie of the same name where Data, yeah. So in this episode, and he gets injured, which gets him put in the hospital, and they kind of realize he's an alien. So you know those girls who are kind of alien nuts that seem to get a hit out of the idea of making contact with another species? Like this woman from Independence Day. What a beautiful experience she is having. Yeah, it doesn't end well for her. But one alien chick in this episode of Star Trek does get a happy ending from Commander Riker. I can't really blame him for this one. I mean, you do what you gotta do to save yourself. It was the only way out. Just like that Irish guy from the Space Irish episode. I mean, I'll reluctantly do what I gotta do to save our society. Hey. Okay, now for one that Riker really should face a court-martial for. So in Season 5 of The Next Generation, he goes to the planet Riker. You know, that exotic holiday planet where everyone in Star Trek spends their spring break. And he hooks up with this alien woman who gives him a game that rewards you for putting a disc into a cone with some kind of orgasm. Riker brings the game back to the Enterprise and introduces it to the entire crew.
The Commander will forge and all the others, they're crazy about some new game.
Yeah, what kind of game is it?
And it puts them under some kind of mind control. It must be even more addictive than Candy Crush. Anyway, the result is that they almost lose the Enterprise to Riker's date from Riker. If it wasn't for Wesley Crusher alerting Data, the only unaffected crew member in the situation. Imagine that happening in the real world, sleeping with an enemy agent that resulted in vital intelligence or equipment being handed over to the enemy. Unless you're this guy, in which case you can keep serving on the intelligence committee, never mind. Now for another episode from Season 5, and this is a really good season for Riker. He gets with like 3 women across the whole season. There's an episode called Conundrum where the crew lose their memory, so they do not know what relationships exist between each other. Riker takes advantage of the situation to have a casual relationship with Ensign Ro Laren. But it gets even more messed up when he and Troy find a book that is obviously a gift from her in his quarters.
To Will, all my love, Deanna.
And they come to the conclusion that they are romantically involved. But then Ro Laren shows up, and instead of being like, actually Ro, I don't think we should be doing this, he's just like, Troy, you can go, even though you're probably my wife or girlfriend, I'm gonna spend another night with Ro Laren. YOLO. The messed up thing is that he almost kissed Troy before they were interrupted, so if he hadn't been interrupted by Ro Laren at that exact point, he probably would have been hooking up with both of them. In the episode Outcast, also in Season 5, Riker meets a transgender alien. Actually, I guess transgender probably is the wrong word for it, but their species has no gender. So Riker is working on a shuttle mission with her, or it, I guess you'd say, and the obvious next step would be to invite it out on a date.
Well, if that's the systems review, I don't see any problem. What's next?
Lunch.
Riker later finds out that this transgender alien is in fact questioning its gender and does indeed identify as a woman. So Riker makes his move. First officer's prerogative, remember? But what always bothered me about this episode is that it's just so unrealistic. This transgender alien isn't even very attractive at all. Her personality is just boring. She has no charisma.
We use a pronoun that is neutral. I do not think there is really a translation.
Well, then I'll just have to muddle through.
It's really unrealistic that Riker, the guy who's been with Deanna Troi, Ro Laren, would ever go for this transgender alien. If I was Deanna Troi, I would be disgusted with him. You left me for an androgynous alien? What do you see in her? Or it? But it all ends up well in the end. The transgender alien has an op to make her genderless again, and she puts Riker in the friend zone. Finally, in the season 6 episode True Q, a female member of the Q Continuum who has just discovered her powers is brought aboard the Enterprise as a kind of intern. There's a scene where Riker is on a date in 10 Forward, because it seems you can date whoever you want on the Enterprise, alright? There aren't really any rules. And the girl gets jealous. She transports Riker and herself to an illusory reality and comes onto him. Surprisingly, he is very professional and resists. But then she puts him under mind control and he is unable to fight it. However, the girl eventually considers what Riker has said and realizes her mistake and lets him go. Maybe this upstanding moral behavior redeems Riker for all his past transgressions. The one good thing is that we do find out he eventually does marry Deanna Troi and they live happily ever after. Oh, and he takes up pizza baking as a hobby. Alright guys, please subscribe if you're new. Leave your comments about this topic below. I'd love to hear what you think. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.